Welcome to the cover letter portion of the portfolio directions for career education. The cover letter, sometimes called a letter of interest, is a letter of application to a specific place of employment. This is the letter that goes on top of your resume and references page. And what it is designed to do is to, number one, briefly state the position you're applying for and also where you heard of that position. Number two, give a summary of qualifications and skills. It should not be redundant or a replica of the resume. These are skills that you might somewhat discuss on the resume, but it should not be a mirror image of what's on the resume already. Number three, you're expressing your interest and knowledge of the company. And lastly, you should be requesting an interview and providing your contact information to the employer so they can get a hold of you if they like what they see. Cover letters are 1 page in length and contain 3 to 4 brief paragraphs. I prefer the 4-paragraph method. I feel it does a better job explaining your skills, qualifications, and interests. And the example we'll use will be a 4-paragraph cover letter. They are always typed and never handwritten. So make sure that you always type. You can handwrite a draft, but you need to type your final draft. Your information needs to be concise and specific. Just stick to the main ideas and the points you're trying to make. Again, it's 1 page, so you don't have a lot of time to ramble or get off track. You want to just stick to the point, stick to what you're trying to get through to this possible employer so that they can look at it briefly, move on to your resume and references because they don't have a lot of time to read these generally. The first thing you'll see on a cover letter is the headings. The first heading is your personal heading. And this should include your full name, your street address, the city, state, and zip code in which you live, your phone number, and an email address. This information needs to be aligned so that the first character of each of those lines is aligned in a straight line together. The second heading is the heading underneath your personal heading, and this is addressed to the person that you're writing this cover letter to. So it should include first the person's name, next to their job title, next the place of employment or where they work, which is also the place you're trying to get a job at. After that, the street address of this company, then lastly the city, state, and zip code of the company. After the second heading, or I should say between the 2 headings, usually what you do is you put the date of the letter, and this is either aligned below the first heading, so you'll have the first heading, a space, then the date, all aligned, or you will have the first heading, a space, the date, which will be aligned with the second heading, which is usually left aligned on the cover letter. This is an example. You'll see the personal heading is aligned on the right. All of those characters, the S, the 5, the P, the parentheses, and the M are all aligned. You'll see there's 1 complete space, then the date, then another complete space, and then the heading of the person you are writing this cover letter to. Again, all of those are left aligned along with the date. The greeting is the greeting of the person you are writing this letter to. So it should read Dear Mr. or Dear Ms. MS period, followed by a colon, not a comma. Do not include the person's first name in this greeting. If you have to use a generic greeting, Dear Hiring Manager is a good choice to use. You'll see I've highlighted the greeting portion in the cover letter here. The opening paragraph is where you will immediately and concisely state the position you're applying for. You also want to include how you learned of this position, whether it's from a sign, a newspaper ad, or a specific person, and then possibly a one-sentence lead in as to why you would be a good candidate. This is like a transition sentence between the first paragraph and second paragraph, which will lead into your skills. Here you'll notice the first paragraph example. It specifically states the job position, the place in which you're applying at, where the position was, where this person heard of the position, and it includes actually two places there. A personal, basically they heard of this position from a person and also on a website. And then you'll see the transition there, which leads the reader into the next portion, which is the skills and qualifications. The second paragraph, you will explain what you can contribute to the company. You want to talk about your skills and qualifications and relate them to how they will benefit the company. If there are any job duties or responsibilities in the posting, the job posting, you'll want to show how those skills and qualifications relate to those job duties and responsibilities of that particular position. So here you'll notice that in this cover letter, you've got some of the things that show why this person would be a good fit for this position, and why they would fit the job that they're applying for here. The third paragraph, you want to do some research on the place you're applying to. Employers like to see that you've taken time to familiarize yourself with their company. It shows that you have a real interest and not just a generic application for a job. This is where you can relate your skills and qualifications specifically to that company and what they do. And then anything that you haven't mentioned in any other paragraphs that might be something to include that shows why you would be a good fit for the position and the company, you would include in this third paragraph. Here's the third paragraph example here. You'll see that the person has done their homework and understands that this job is a little bit different than, in this example, a regular high school. So they've made that mention of that, and they've mentioned why their skills, personal skills, would benefit this company, or in this case, this school. So this is a good place, the third paragraph's a good place to relate how your skills will benefit the company and not just so much the position, but the company in whole. In closing, you want to make sure you specifically request an interview to further your talk about your skills with the employer. You want to be able to make a face-to-face contact. That's the best way you're going to get hired. Having a good portfolio helps, but getting an interview is where you will end up getting or not getting that job. Make sure to include the contact phone number along with the best times of day to contact you, so that they're actually having a chance to get a hold of you and not just leaving you messages. Also, remember to take time to briefly thank them for the opportunity and for them considering your portfolio and resume packet that you've sent to them to look at. Here again, you'll see the closing. It just briefly sums up the abilities, why they feel they're a good fit, and then you'll see that they're asking for an interview at the convenience of the employer or the hiring manager. There's a phone number that they can be reached at, and then the time. And then again, just a simple thank you for your time and consideration works really well to close your last paragraph. The final thing is the closing, which is 2 lines below the last paragraph. You want to align the closing with the very first heading, which is your personal heading, and that goes over towards the right side of the document. You write sincerely, that's the best way to close this, followed by a comma, then leave 2 blank spaces, and then in alignment with sincerely, you want to type your full name. That space in between sincerely and your name is where, if you were to print this letter and mail it in or carry it in to an employer, you would sign the letter. So make sure those two spaces are there. Here's the example of that. As you'll see, I put the spaces in just to show that example of the spaces needing to be left there. So you'll see the S in sincerely and the S in this person's name are aligned like they should be, and if you were to scroll up in this document, you'd see they're aligned with that first heading. Here's an example of the entire document in whole. You can see all the alignments are done correctly, and you can see that it's broken up into a solid 4 paragraphs. It's brief, concise, it sticks to one page, and it gets right to the point of what they're applying for, what their skills are, how they can benefit the company, and what research they've done about the company, the requesting of an interview, and the contact information, and a thank you. So this is what your cover letter should look like. That's how you build it. Hopefully this helps you and clarifies any of common misconceptions or mistakes that are made.